be sure of yourself and reframe your thinking to where it's not trial and error, but it's trial and inevitable success.
Mm,
Once you have your focus on what you're doing and your goals and your goal for your business or your startup, that conviction will allow you to see whatever error or mistake you make along the road as a lesson to be learned
mm.
towards that inevitable success. So I would just have, if I was speaking to someone, I would just let them know that everything is trial and inevitable success. There is no errors, there is no mistakes, only lessons to be learned. So keep progressing and don't expect perfection.
Everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of the Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7 and 8-figure businesses, as well as the CEO and founder of Miller IP Law, where we help startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com and grab some time with us to chat. Now, today we have another great guest on the podcast, ONeil Mbakwe, if I can say this. That's as close as I'm going to get to it. But ONeil grew up in Dallas, Texas, and went to Baylor University and got a mechanical engineering and went into and also into pre-med. I think it was in the 3rd year of school, dropped out of pre-med because he found out he wasn't passionate about it. Realized he liked the analytics more than medicine. So graduated in 2018, went and worked for, I think, Samsung for microprocessors, was there for a couple of years. Or when he graduated, he kind of knew that 9 to 5 or serves a purpose, but wasn't his long-time goal. So with that, began to do real estate investing. Also found some mentors, including his aunt, that helped him get into that. Started on the wholesale side. Wasn't as passionate about the wholesale side, but it gave him some good experience. After doing wholesale for a couple years, shifted over to rentals or to hold rentals, make money off of those, and also has gotten into a little bit into podcasting. So with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Devin. Thanks for having me.
So I gave just kind of the brief run through of a much longer journey, and I condensed it into 30 seconds. So let's go back a little bit in time to growing up in Dallas and going to Baylor University and how your journey started there.
Yeah, so I was born in Dallas, Texas, specifically Coppell. I was raised with 4 of my siblings, and growing up, I was always interested in how money works,
Hmm.
how people make money and how people accumulate and save and invest. So
Hmm.
from a young age, I could just remember myself anytime I would make money, I would literally save it or just take care of it like it was a child. Like literally, I would be ironing it and just being so fascinated with how money works.
Hmm.
So that really was the starting phase of me being interested in entrepreneurship and just making something for myself. Now, I had the opportunity to go to school in Nigeria for about 2.5 years, from middle school to the beginning of high school. And that gave me the opportunity, first of all, to get a different perspective on culture and how different societies work. But it also uh, it made me grateful for what I was leaving when I arrived in Nigeria. Um, when I came back from Nigeria, my mindset was like, all right, everything that is here can't be taken for granted. So I'm just going to do what I can to the best of my ability and proceed from there. So
Hmm.
moving with that mindset, I was able to graduate from high school, went to school, university at Baylor University, and started off with mechanical engineering with a pre-med discipline. And the
Hmm.
reason I did that was just because growing up in my household, it was either you're a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, or we'll have to talk about that later. But I couldn't choose between pre-med and mechanical engineering, so I chose to do both.
Hmm.
Fast forward to my 3rd year at Baylor, I decided to drop pre-med because, as you said, I had no passion for it. Um, and that in that stage, it started making sense that, all right, I need to gather what my passions are and move forward, because I was already a senior in college. I was getting ready to graduate and move into the real world.
Hmm.
So I graduated in 2018. with a degree in mechanical engineering, and I was able to get a job at Samsung Austin Semiconductor. So that's where I am currently right now, working as a mechanical engineer, where I do a bunch of data analysis, troubleshoot equipment, and just make sure the manufacturing process of semiconductor chips is completed successfully and efficiently. Um, Now, before I started working,
Now, one question, just out of, or
yeah,
diving
yeah,
back just a bit into your journey, and we'll get into Samsung. But as you're going through, going through school, you get into pre-med, and you kind of, mentioned that, and there's a lot of different families that, hey, a doctor, a lawyer, an attorney, a dentist, some of those, traditional professionals, or what, kind of have envisioned for their kids because it has the appearance of success.
hmm
So that's oftentimes where it's pushed. But now, as you get in there, how did you kind of, when you figured out, hey, pre-med is probably not for me, it's not what excites me, it's not what drives me or makes me, excited to get up in the morning, how did you kind of decide where to go or kind of what to go into at that point?
yeah. So when I decided that I didn't want to continue with pre med, um, I was already like pretty far ahead in my college career. So I either could redirect what my whole degree was and stay a bit longer, or just graduate with my degree in mechanical engineering.
Hmm.
But that was my decision in just letting go of pre-med and just finishing off with a mechanical engineering degree. With not going forward with pre-med, it was all of a matter of time. I felt like a lot of time would be committed to something that I wasn't very passionate about. And
Hmm.
yeah, I can make a lot of money, or I can make a good income as a doctor, have a good reputation, but I'm understanding that there's more ways than that. You know, there's more ways than just going to pre med, getting a high paying salary, and
Hmm.
then living a life. Like, you can be fulfilled in what you're actually passionate about and have that pay you as well. So why not take the time to do it while I'm at this age? And by the time I would have graduated to be a doctor, which was probably 32,
Hmm.
now, when I'm 32 in 7 years, who's to say I won't be doing what I want and making money off of it?
That's right. No, that definitely makes sense. So now you graduated 2000, made that shift, graduated 2018, and then as you mentioned, you went into you went to work for Samsung, did some microprocessors, and you've been
hmm
there for a couple of years. Now you also mentioned, in addition to that, you're saying, hey, 9 to 5 serves its purpose. It's not necessarily a long-term goal. Still want to do my own thing. Want to be able to continue to grow and expand, and be able to have some control and be able to do that. So how did that, was that always a plan when you graduated? Hey, I'm going to work the 9 to 5. It serves its purpose, but I also have long-term goals. Was that kind of something you knew coming out of school? Was it something you figured out as you're working, or kind of how did that factor into your journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I graduated and knew that I was going to be working 9 to 5, at first I wasn't in the mindset that it's serving its purpose. I was in the mindset of, I need to hurry up and get out of here. Like, this
Hmm.
sucks. I hate having a boss. I haven't even had a boss yet, and I was like, I hate having a boss, just because it's what I heard around me. But when I was able to sit in the position that I was in and see everything that's come of it, it made me understand that it's serving its purpose, and let me embrace it and continue to let it serve its purpose until I move to the next thing. And with having a 9 to 5, it's also given me the opportunity to dive into other things,
Hmm.
especially real estate. Um, that's been something that has been embedded in my mind for a couple years now due to my aunt, who's a real estate investor. And real estate is a great way to build wealth, right?
Hmm.
So what I started to do while I was off my 9 to 5 was wholesale. And basically what wholesaling is, what is you get a property under contract and you sell that contract to an end buyer or investor, and you make
Hmm.
a spread off of it. So in my journey with wholesaling while working a 9 to 5, I was able to, one, find mentors to help me and uplift my real estate IQ, and
Hmm.
two, I was able to make additional income from my 9 to 5. And three, it allowed me to save enough money to put a payment on my first investment property.
Mm,
And just going through different stages in my entrepreneurial journey, I understand that everything is serving its purpose. Like having a job, giving me income, serving its purpose because it allows me to venture off into other things that I'm truly interested in.
mm.
Uh, so
So now,
going,
so now you have kind of that, hey, figure out it serves or that serves a purpose, that, you can continue to do the 9 to 5, chase your dreams, kind of do one as, it's always kind of, people say it's a side hustle. I always look at it, it's really more of a second full-time job because it's as much work or more work to do the side hustle as it is to do the full-time job. But you get into that and you started out, I think you said in wholesaling of real estate and then transitioned over more into the rental business. Is that right?
yes, yes, yeah.
So maybe what made you decide, what made you decide again to get into wholesale, and then what caused the transition over into the rental business?
Yeah, so what caused me to get into wholesaling was I felt like it was the easiest way for me to transition into the real estate industry,
Mm,
and it allowed me to learn more about real estate, and it forced me out of my comfort zone to where I was now making calls every day to both sellers and new investors. And in doing that, it allowed me to expand my network of real estate investors, and some of those
mm,
relationships are still being nurtured today and um, still being in effect today. So with wholesaling, it's allowed me to first learn a lot about real estate, see different aspects of real estate like multifamily and rentals and um, uh, industrial, and three, learn how to network and to maintain a network.
mm. So now and I think that definitely makes sense to kind of say one is I think it seems like there's kind of a common thread throughout a lot of your journey of, hey, I'm going to get the experience or experience in different areas, whether it's a 9 to 5 where it gives me a bit of financial basis, gives me some experience out in the working world, as well as it allows me to then pursue some of the other things and passions and dreams. So then you do that for a period of time with also getting into real estate and say, okay, wholesale may not be where I want to be in the end, but it gives me the opportunity to get some experience and again kind of build on top of that. And then you get into the rental side of the business. So, and then I think you also mentioned kind of in addition to that, you're starting to get into a bit of podcasting. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, I am. So that started at the end of last year. Um, I'm always I'm always a fan of like using my voice
Mm-hmm.
for creativity, for information and education. And having a podcast allowed me to have a little outlet. There's a podcast that I have called Master of One, and it basically talks about my journey, about what I'm going through, and how though I juggle and balance different things, at the end of the day, I'm the master of one, which is myself. So
Mm,
everything that I'm doing is in my hands and everything is my choice. Initially it was just for, my legacy, one day I'll pass and it'll be for my grandkids or whatever.
mm-hmm.
And then someone from Brazil just hit me up and was just like, thank you so much for what you're doing. I've been listening to your podcast for some time from now, and it let me know that it was more than just me, that I'm not the only one who thinks this way. So
Hmm.
I need to continue working to expand and scale and reach the people who it needs to reach.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Well, now that we've kind of caught up to where you're at, and as far as today, now looking kind of to the next 6 to 12 months, where do you think or see things headed? Are you going to continue to kind of do the side hustle with real estate or the second full time job and work with Samsung? Do you want to move into real estate full time? Do you want to move into podcasting full time? Or are you looking to get experience in these areas and go to different directions? So kind of clue us into what's the next 6 to 12 months look like for you.
Yeah, so the next 6 to 12 months for me seem to be more towards my podcast and my real estate. In terms of my podcast, I would like to, I'm intending to have more guests and actually being in a setting where the guest is in the room with me, sort of like a Ellen DeGeneres or a Oprah Winfrey kind of scene,
Mm,
just to have things more intimate and connect with the user, the fan base and the audience better.
mm-hmm,
In terms of my real estate journey, right now, I'm actively just analyzing different multifamily properties in Austin and San Antonio and Waco, and just looking for my next position where I'd want to invest in. So everything is a continuous process that I go through every day.
mm.
It's just being consistent and continuing to do it.
Oh, cool. Well, that's certainly exciting, and sounds like a fun path ahead. So now, as we've kind of caught up to where you're at today, a little bit looking to the future, as I always transition over and ask a couple of questions at the end of each podcast. We'll kind of dive to those now. So the first question I always ask is: along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made, and what did you learn from it?
Uh, yeah, I already know which one that stung a little bit. The worst business decision I ever made was during the time I was wholesaling. There was a house that I had under contract that was probably going to be one of my biggest deals at the time,
Mm,
and it required me to do a lot of research, make a lot of calls, a lot of digging to find out more about the deed of the property, what it was truly going through, and I realized that um, it had gone through like a lawsuit or something like that. So I reached out to the lawyer, who I won't mention his name, um,
mm,
just to see if I can get some more information about the home, because I was looking to sell it. And what after I went to the lawyer, he was basically like, you know what, I can do this myself. You can stay out of this. And I was like, but I've already done all this work. And he was like, all right, it's whatever. This is business. So
mm,
he ended up taking the home back, and um, just putting himself in a position to sell the home himself.
mm,
And it just allowed me to realize that as much as you want to trust everyone, that you have to be cautious,
mm.
and you have to move with caution in terms of uh, how you do business and the decisions you make in your business. Now, caution doesn't mean fear. It doesn't mean um, to be fearful of your decisions. It just means to truly think about every angle and decision that you were making. So that was a lesson I learned from um, one of my worst decisions.
Well, I think that's it's an interesting one because it's not one that you're saying, oh, I've done all this homework, I've done all of this, and it's if I were to, a bit of the takeaway is you have to, as you get in the business world, you always and I'm this absolutely the same way. You have the, hey, everybody's trustworthy, everybody will do a good job, everybody will be will treat me fairly, and most people do, and I'd say the vast majority do. But you always have to, and that's kind of whenever somebody asks me, hey, should I get an NDA? Should I go disclose this to individuals? My first thing is, well, you need to gauge the whether or not you're able, or your level of trust or your level of risk when you're talking with this individual. If it's someone that that you can discuss things with and discuss them openly and have a high level of trust with them, that's one thing. And if not, then you want to make sure to adjust what conversations you have and what you discuss with them based on your level of trust with them. So I think it was definitely a mistake to learn from, and one that's definitely understandable. So now, as we dive into the second question, which is, if you're talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give them?
I would tell them to be sure of yourself and reframe your thinking to where it's not trial and error, but it's trial and inevitable success.
Mm,
Once you have your focus on what you're doing and your goals and your goal for your business or your startup, that conviction will allow you to see whatever error or mistake you make along the road as a lesson to be learned
mm.
towards that inevitable success. So I would just have, if I was speaking to someone, I would just let them know that everything is trial and inevitable success. There is no errors, there is no mistakes, only lessons to be learned. So keep progressing and don't expect perfection.
No, and I like that, because I think that one of the differences between somebody that's as successful as an entrepreneur, or as a startup or a small business, versus those that don't make it, there's certainly some that goes into, do you have a good idea? Do you have, good business plan and everything else? But I think those that are willing to have the mind frame of inevitable, or, at some point I'm going to be successful. I got to keep at it, got to gain the experience, got to learn the things, got to learn what to do, what not to do, and keep at it. Those are the ones that are eventually will find the success. And those that, hey, I tried this for a week and it didn't work out, and I put up a website and I put some Facebook ads and I'm not a millionaire yet, kind of a thing, is not the individuals that are never going to find that success, because they're not the ones that are going to say, hey, when I hit that first road bump, I'm going to say, well, looks like I failed, and then go back to it. So I think that that's a great takeaway from everybody.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a client or customer in your, rental space, they want to be on your podcast, they want to be an investor in any of your businesses, they want to, be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach you up, contact you, or find out more?
The best way to reach out to me is through LinkedIn. Just ONeil Mbakwe, ONeil, M as in Mary, B as in boy, AKWE. And there should only be one of me, so it shouldn't be too hard to find.
All right. Well, I certainly can't say that with my name, so that's a great one to be one of, or the only one with the name. So that's awesome. So, well, awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on, ONeil. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Now, for all of you that are listeners, if you have your own journey to tell and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, feel free to apply to be on the show. Just go to inventiveguest.com and apply. 2 more things as a listener. 1, make sure to click subscribe in your podcast player so you know when all of our awesome episodes come out. And 2, leave us a review so new people can find out about all of our awesome episodes. Last but not least, if you ever need help with patents, trademarks, or anything else, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat. We're always here to help. Well, thanks again, ONeil, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you so much, Devin. Take care.